Make life fulfilling. Children make you work hard, but there's three things to give you pleasure in life, and that's good friends, good leadership for the church, and a good wife. And I have all three of them here today. My wife, Cynthia, wave real quick right there. A good friend of mine, she may be only 4'2", but she's as tall as anybody in this room, and that's Gloria. Raise your hand, Gloria. And the pastor of the Rock Church in Brentwood, Pastor Duke, raise your hand right there. First of all, to give you a little bit of a foundation, I'm a person that the things that I believe in, I believe in. And the things that I support wholeheartedly. And everything that I do has a base. And before I talk about Measure C and the things that you've done here, I want to explain to you why it is important to me. One day I was sitting at an event and I was signing autographs and met a whole bunch of kids and a whole bunch of family. And there was a big kid came up to the table. He's a young kid and he was big and husky, and I could see that he was big and husky. And I instantly saw a football player. So I said, "How you doing, baby Bubba?" I said, "One day you're going to be a big football player." I said, "Look how big you are." I said, "How old are you?" He said, 10. And he said, "Oh, you're 10? Man, you're so big." And the more that I talked about the fact that he was big, the more I noticed that his demeanor got sad. The sadder he got is the more I told him that he was big. And then I remembered how it was when I was in school, and I was in middle school, and I was in elementary school, and I was the single biggest person in the school. I hated it. I thought that the greatest joke that God could have ever played upon me in my life is how could he have possibly allowed me to grow up and be bigger than all the other kids. I didn't fit in, didn't find any place, and if I could have only changed one thing about my life, if they would have just said, "You get one do-over, just get one thing about your life that you can erase out of it and change," I would have changed my size. I would have done anything in the world to be the same size as the other kids. And not only did I was bigger than everybody, but I've always had a voice. I've always had something to say. I would get in trouble so often in school for talking. And so imagine being the biggest kid in school, and then a person that always had something to say. And so I had a childhood and a time in middle school and elementary school that for a long time that I wish that I forget. But I've since learned that the reason that I was born as big as that I am is that I was born perfect in every way to be an offensive tackle. And the reason that I spoke and talked so much is that I was born perfect to be a motivational speaker. I just didn't understand it when I was young. And so I've made it a point to go around the schools everywhere. And I've even in the finishing products of a book called From the Top of My Head to the Soles of My Feet, I'm perfect in every way. See, the thing that people don't realize is that I believe in this message, that every single human being is born with a purpose. That from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, that everything about you is exactly that way it should be for that thing that you were birthed to give to the earth. That when you go into schools and you see young children, that so many of them feel bad about so many things. Some of them feel bad because they're short, their hair ain't long enough, they're not good in math, they come from a different background, and they believe that the most miserable thing in life there is to live in their skin. But I tell them my story, and I tell them how this person who couldn't find himself found himself to be great. And so I go and I tell people that everywhere I go, that we're born with a purpose, that there's a clearly defined set of instructions that are innately inside of us. And one day we figure out and we hear that voice and we manifest it and we give the world a piece of creation's puzzle that it never had. But so many children don't see that, and so that's one of the things that I think that was important. But I will never forget that one day I was giving this speech, everyone is born for a purpose. I was telling them about Sir Isaac Newton sit under an apple tree, apple fell off the tree, hit him in the head. He saw the formula for gravity because he was purposed to see gravity. That everything in our life that exists because someone who was once 10 years old had a vision for it. Whether it be a cell phone or whether it be a spectacular meal, it rolls out of someone who at one time didn't know why they were made and found this gift lying inside of them. And so I was at San Francisco State, and I was telling this, and I'm happy. And I will never forget, a professor, one of the doctors came up to me and said, Bubba, I can buy into that a little bit. You know, I think that it is important that we understand and tell people that they have purpose. But I've been teaching so long, and I realized that not all people with purpose produce what they're supposed to produce. And I thought this was so strange coming from an educator, because to me, when I'm out in the game and my job is to block for Reggie Doss, which is somebody you don't know of, I go out and have a good game. And I think that's good. When I play against him, it's all right. But when I play against Howie Long, and I play against Reggie White and Richard Dent, all these great players, my true measure of a player is how do I play against people that are supposed to beat me. And I'm here to say that in those guys, I whooped them good. But anyway, and so here I am now dealing with this educator who has already told me that a whole bunch of people that come through her system don't make it. And she gave this example. She said, Bubba, look at how it's in the DNA and the nature of an acorn to become an oak tree. But how many acorns do we see laying on the ground that never become oak trees? And so I looked at her and I told her that the purpose of an acorn is to become an oak tree, but the real purpose of an acorn is to possess the information necessary to become an oak tree. That we have to first plant it in the fertile dirt. We take care of that dirt, and then that oak tree will become an oak tree if we make the surroundings right. And that's one of the things that we have done here in Discovery Bay by the renovation of this system. Isn't it a beautiful school that they've done, all the work they've done so far? You have to have a place to where young people come, and even though they don't quite understand who they are, or why they are, or how they are, you have to give them an environment to where this environment nurtures their ability to see what's inside of themselves and allows them to understand that even though they're different, it's all right to be different, and that inside of you lies the possibility of changing the whole world. You cannot do that unless people like Ken Hoffman and people in this room who have supported this measure. See, a lot of times people will say, we don't like to tax ourselves because people don't do with the money what we ask them to do with it. But I can say here, with this beautiful facility, with oversight committees and everything else that is in place for this proposition, that the people here in the Byron School District did what they're supposed to do with the money, and we have a beautiful facility to show for it. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
One of the things that I also like about this system is that even though you might provide an atmosphere for people to grow up and be leaders, you have to have people to nourish that ground. It has to be someone to pull the weeds out, and it's got to be someone to water it and fertilize it. And that is the wonderful teachers that we have in this school district. And the one thing I like about this district, everywhere you go in California, you hear about people getting pink slips. But guess what? We got one district that no one got a pink slip this year. Let's give them a hand. Also, I work a lot with Tom Turlipson, and I'm a chairman of the Healthy Kids program in California. Because we think that we should create a healthier child, and we should create an environment to where not only do they develop mentally, but they develop physically in a way that gives themselves an opportunity to produce. And one of the things that I like about Tom is he's created a concept of how we will be able to have education function properly in the future. That we have to create a partnership between the community, business leaders, organizations, helping the schools produce and become what they need to become. You cannot reduce the tax rate, the base, and expect the schools to perform at the same level. We as people, whether it be our time, energy, effort, or money, we have to make a dedication in order to support schools. And one of the things that I can say about this school is next year it will be healthier because we're going to make sure it got a salad bar. Don't you agree with that? bar. We ain't got to do it because it ain't that big enough to put it in that spot over there. But we got to just do a miniature size salad bar. But we will put a salad bar here. And so one day we'll all come and we're going to come over here and enjoy this beautiful place and eat salad. Ain't that right? In Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person, the second habit